And welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship. We're into week 11, the final week of the 4th round robin and the regular season play. Blank's final match of that as well, now coming up against DeToNator.GOLD.
DeToNator.GOLD, yeah, right. We're talking about this in like yardstick terms because, of course, Blank just beat Sun Sister. In all fairness, it was Sun Sister's best showing yet. Now, look, it feels like we're setting this bar really low because they still got 3-0'd, but actually it was a legitimately solid performance out of them. They have fixed a lot of their mistakes. Things are looking better for them. So now the test will be, later on in this weekend, can they beat DeToNator?
Absolutely, and a big part of that will be answered through this very match itself. How does Sun Sister compare to Blank? And how did DeToNator compare to Blank? And then Sun Sister can sort of use that situation and sort of compare themselves to DeToNator as well and get something out of it maybe.
Exactly. So I know that's a really interesting kind of take on the series, but I suppose, you know, the other thing we should actually say here is to talk about the two teams that are going to be playing this year. Of course, is Blank, who are just fresh off this win. So look, DeToNator do actually perform more solidly than Sun Sister over the course of this whole tournament. I feel like it is a little bit realistic here to say, look, DeToNator want to walk away from this with a map win.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I think for DeToNator, this would be incredibly strong for them, particularly then going into relegations. How good are they going to be able to perform then? Well, certainly much better if they can take a map off of Blank, which is going to be really good. We're also going to get a couple words from the two sides as well. Saihate on the right, Torini on the left.
虽然呢，他们已经赛程最后一周了，但是呢，他们队伍还是会尽力的打完，加油的。好，再来。
那个胜将在加油啊！
So we
we
hope you do your best as well.
比赛马上就要开始了，我们把画面交给分析台。
From the two sides as they get ready to go into their first map, something to take note of is I believe DeToNator actually in the home position.
They are indeed.
Blank get a little bit of a swap around there.
Swapperoo, the old swapperoo. Yeah, it's the Australian finally comes
happens
out.
to the best of us.
Yeah, coming out with the old swapperoo, mate.
Everybody swaps.
Yeah,
eventually.
Why not? Why not? What if DeToNator did it too? Just everyone plays off rolls. I'm curious as to what map DeToNator are actually going to take them to here. I kind of want to just either Oasis. They do seem to have done a lot of prep for Oasis lately, but I wouldn't mind seeing them just go to Lijiang as well. Both I think are perfectly valid. I do expect Oasis out of this, but certainly I don't want them to fall back on doing something offbeat or anything. Like, you don't want to, there's no point trying to take Blank by surprise here. Like, look, just, pick a good map, play your best game. Either it's good enough or it's not. But honestly, just have a good showing. Doesn't matter what you do play, have a good showing, win or lose. And, like we said, what DeToNator and Sun Sister really need to get out of today, and in fact this weekend as a whole, is a concrete, if you will, array of proof that they have improved over the course of this tournament, that they are going to be better than the teams coming into relegations, because there's a lot of question marks about that. Look, some of the teams in relegations are going to be really, really good, and they're going to be, young teams, or they're going to be new teams. There are also going to be some that don't have this same kind of tournament experience. There will be a real mixed bag. You want to be better than ideally all of those teams, but if not that, you want to be better than most of them. You want to give yourself as good a shot of coming back for Season 2 as possible. So concrete evidence of improvement, it's a good place to start.
And you need to be top 2 to make that. Now take a look at the lineups as well for both sides. We're going to start with DeToNator, Samurai D, Delave, Anakin, Saihate, Yoshiharu, and Dotoloff, and hopefully we'll get to see them a bit more detail later as well.
Yeah, and interesting to note, there's Samurai D back on. So last week he was actually a little bit unwell, and also Sun Sister pulled, sorry, not Sun Sister, DeToNator did, if I'm not mistaken, pull out a substitution. Words are hard. So they had two different members, and I believe their coach actually subbed in a fellow by the name of Sensei. So they've actually popped the sub back on the bench here, and they do have Samurai D back, so congratulations.
Sabagod is not here.
Yeah, so no Sabagod this week.
So Delave is back on instead of Sabagod. Now that is also very interesting because Sabagod has had now one appearance on DeToNator.GOLD. He was the support player last week in Delave's place. This week, at least for this match, he is not on. Whether he comes on for the rest of the weekend, still yet to be seen, which will be interesting.
Bit of a Houdini situation. We saw him briefly and then he vanished into thin air.
It would be a shame if we didn't get to see a little bit more of what he had to bring. Well, the interesting dynamic he had there was, now that we're on to Dotoloff, is Dotoloff actually changed onto the Lucio, and Sabagod played Dotoloff's role as that sort of flex support.
And what that actually did for them is, that's a different Hanzo portrait.
No, I've seen that before. It's probably not the one you're used to, but...
I feel like
it
that's
has
completely
existed.
different now. Well, in any case, I don't doubt it. I just don't seem to see it very often. But in any case, you're completely right. And what that actually did with Sabergod was it sort of opened up a bit of their flexibility and support, which was actually quite good to see. They weren't just stuck on only having that Lucio, but it's not a bad thing to just always have the Lucio as well. Like it's not the end of the world. They don't really lose too much by having Delave over Sabergod. It's obviously just an internal decision here. Bit of a refresher course for you on Blank if you missed the last lecture. Here are their general picks, etc. No May there for RQT. Unfortunate that one hasn't squeaked its way on just yet. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and what I kind of take out of this sort of swap out for the subs for DeToNator anyway is maybe this doesn't allow Sun Sister in particular to see what their team now looks like with Sabergod, and they can bring it back out against Sun Sister, which would be an interesting move specifically against that team.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So, in general, I mean, nothing is actually too radical here about DeToNator going back to the lineup they've mostly had, and of course half of what was happening last week as well. It was the substitution for Delay, but it was Samurai D being as well. So that was sort of a two-half thing, and actually we did feel that they were looking quite good with that being the case with Sabergod in there. So I am curious to see how they would be with Sabergod and Samurai D still on the team in good health. But they have actually made their improvements over the course of this tournament with this particular lineup. It's not necessary to bring in Sabergod. So, it's neither here nor there. And
this would have been a good test from them.
Yeah,
versus
it would have been.
Actually would have been great.
It would have been. But at the same time, this is quite possibly the squad that's more likely to go into relegation. So I am actually pleased to see that they're just going to try and see how well they can do with this lineup.
And it is going to be Lijiang Tower, like you said as well. I kind of thought maybe Oasis was definitely in that pool.
Well, you thought maybe wrong.
You wouldn't want to go to Ilios probably against Black. That wouldn't
Not after what you just saw.
Yeah, definitely not after what you saw. That was a very crushing defeat against Sun Sister. So Lijiang Tower, quite a bit more neutral as a sort of a standpoint for this team now going up against Blank.
Yeah, and I kind of touched on this beforehand. Both this and Oasis. I almost prefer this. With regards to what I was talking about earlier, which was just, playing something stock standard, bringing your A game and do as well as you're going to do. The argument for Oasis was that DeToNator do seem to have prepped for it quite a lot, but I feel like Lijiang is arguably the more neutral of the two in that regard. I'm excited to see what they're able to pull off here and just, frankly, how well they perform. This is also a map that actually Blank are extremely strong on themselves, and a lot of that is just the amount of space they're able to get for their Tracer. But we could be seeing them swapping things up a little bit. It might not necessarily be eat you up on the Tracer.
Yeah, possibly you might get Gumba back on the Winston again. You might get Trill back on the Tracer as well. So, anything can really happen for Blank at this sort of stage. However, what I think is they can't actually. I don't know if they'll get as much mileage with that against DeToNator as they did against Sun Sister, because I still rate DeToNator as a better team here, and Blank should also have that kind of respect going in.
The standings rate them as a better team as well, funnily enough. But yeah,
standings agree with me.
The science is there. You're completely right, though. I wonder about that pond, by the way, on Gardens.
I don't see any water in there, so I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't see any water, but there are fish. But if you fall into it, it's also a bottomless pit.
Yeah, the fish eat you.
What's going on with that? It's floating space piranhas. But seriously, what is up with that pond? Why is it so deadly?
Well, I've told you the answer to that question. The answer is that you fall up feet first in the pool sanctum. So that is exactly what happens.
But it's actually just the speed that kills you. It's the velocity.
Absolutely dangerous. Yeah. Science is dangerous.
The blood all rushes to your brain, and rushes away from your brain.
We're going to actually, just while the pause actually came up, we got a little slight glimpse of the lineups, and it did appear Blank are going to run something standard. So can't believe that's like a thing that has to be said. What? Can't believe Blank are running standard. Wow. Well, they're running standard, full standard as well.
And I think that is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I would have almost liked to see them maybe run triple DPS. Again, for the reasons I said at the top of the broadcast, that is still hiding strength. But it's not playing something too outlandish. It's playing something that they have played before and probably still practice some amount in scrims. So they're not going to be showing some great almighty hidden strat they're holding for playoffs, I feel, by doing that. But still plenty of good reason to just play standard. Like we said, you do want to take this seriously. You don't want to drop, you don't really want to drop anything if you don't have to. You certainly don't want to drop this game.
Well, actually what's interesting is in the opening round of Ilios, or the stage of Ilios rather, on Ruins against Sun Sister, they played full standard. So Blank do sort of they really start with something a little bit more normal. They dip their toes in the water and just feel out the other team with that and be like, how do they respond? Are they going to be able to deal with our normal composition properly, or do we have a little bit more room to play with? And if they feel like they do have room to play with, that's when you get to Ilios well against Sunsis and they start to change things up.
And that's the smart way to do that. You're quite right, because of course that is the risk of playing, you know, playing your, I don't know, your I don't want to say B game. It makes it sound more negative than it is. Like you know, that specific category of things that are legitimate team comps that just aren't your most standard thing that you run the majority of the time. That, you know, a little bit more off the beaten track for you. So it will getting back into game pause has been resolved. But yeah, that is the smart way to do it. You're quite right. Sound out the enemy team first.
And something super standard on DeToNator is, well, I think Blank on some level kind of expected the Pharaoh to come up. They did stick eat up, or rather ATA on the Soldier fairly early for that.
Oh, wow. Good aggression there. Completely shutting down Anakin. Actually, Kiki getting that kill is quite interesting because they're going very hard on the dive here. Eat you up. Careful to not get booped there, but he is safe.
Good area
now.
Control.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal area control. And this means that at the moment the point unlocks, Blank can just kind of sit pretty on it and force DeToNator to attack onto them.
For DeToNator, actually, they disengaged quite well because they lost Anakin, then they didn't lose anybody else. They said, we're not going to fly without Anakin. And I agree with that. You need to have Anakin with your team. He's your best player. They're going to come back in now, but they immediately lose DeLavers also. Still fighting on the back foot.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Anakin getting trained down on this backside as well. So Hardy was forced to recall. He was not really able to be an active participant in the fight. He's not even getting much harassed down on the backside anyway. He's just kind of constantly being stopped up. So Blank just going to have, like you said, all the area control.
Absolutely, and you're not getting too many kills over to Blank, but they do still get the majority of the ultimates, and they get them fairly quickly. Now, DeToNator, they got a couple options, but they need to be able to find this opening that they haven't so far. At least they're not losing members early. That's something they can take away.
That was a pretty phenomenal stop-up of that push, by the way, because it was initially just Eat You Up holding the two tanks at bay, but now look at this great positioning. They've spotted out what DeToNator are going to do to commit to this push. Yeah, so they've set ATAR way back. Now that DeToNator are committing to the fight to go into the backliners, they've actually had to go past the point. They're not even fighting on the point here. And because they had to go so much distance, they totally overextended themselves. They went from the far side of the point in that room all the way out back into the courtyard here, got cleaned up on the way, and honestly, they just kind of fell straight into Blank's trap.
Yeah, and Blank had the double support ultimates there that they eventually did pop. DeToNator, however, Dodolov didn't catch Sayhate with the Transcendence. That's unfortunate because that would have been something they could have needed, or rather have used to save one of their players and not had that early death, which has plagued all of these fights. Every single time they got to lose somebody, and it's delayed again, unfortunately.
Wow. Yeah, Kiki just kind of lobs the mech onto the back end there to see if he can get anything. Anakin now going to go big on the backside, but Trill on defense there. Yeah, no heals on him as Gunber actually gets Sayhate of all people. I think most of that damage is actually done by ATAR with that tactical visor. But again, it's forced DeToNator back. 85% now. DeToNator may get a chance for one last fight, but it is going to be do or die. And never mind that.
Yep, they're going to have to take their last fight without Dodolov. They're going to have to go now, and without big ultimates, they're not going to have the Dragon Blade, which is their main DPS ultimate. They got to get something great out of Pulse Bomb. They got the survivability, but they need the damage.
Right onto Gunber, but wasn't even able to get much damage on him, let alone close him out. Finally gets him after, you know, a sound barrier and an ult and all that commitment. And meanwhile, Blank's DPS has just kind of been running rampant. They are finally able to get some kills in response here. Yeah, decent trains indeed, as they were able to pick off ATAR. That was a good deflect out of Anakin. They are on this point. It is on Blank to aggress onto the point, but neither team is really coming up with kills. And now here we go, Blank in position, Eat You Up unleashed, and the sound barrier is out to give them a bit more mileage. This puts the fight back in their favor as Trill is ulting as well on the point. It is all locked down, and this will be an opening 100-0 in any moment now, unless something crazy comes out. But no, there it goes.
Yeah, the overtime goes down super quick as well. DeToNator, they really got stopped up there because they had a couple of the early success, mainly out of Sayhate, but as soon as RQT put down the sound barrier and Eat Up went to work, I mean, that was it. Eat Up didn't even need to do too much. He just did his own thing. He just played the normal Eat Up. He got the kills. He just got the normal kills that he usually gets. Get the normal damage up.
Just got the normal 4K that he normally gets.
Well, that's just what you expect out of the guy now. He's able to just be that oppressive. And so I have to tell you what's interesting is he was able to get the early kill on the Gunber without even committing the Pulse Bomb. So I don't know what happened to his Pulse Bomb. I'm going to assume not a lot because we didn't see it come up on the kill feed. But something DeToNator were having trouble with going into that fight was they lost Dodolov early, they didn't have the Dragon Blade, they didn't have the offensive tools, so the fact they got those kills to start with was quite good.
The Pulse Bomb actually fell over into the Berenstain universe. That's where it is. So somewhere in that universe, 5 members of Blank got killed by a rogue Pulse Bomb.
That's the universe with DeToNator's going to the playoffs and Blank.
Yeah, and Blank headed to relegations, exactly. The Berenstain universe. I'm glad I'm in the Berenstain universe as much as that misnomer does bother me. But Blank, once again, the ground control is here. Look at this. It's DeToNator's onus to kind of push on to this one. They're having a bit of a hard time really unleashing their DPS here. Eat You Up, once again, is running fairly uncontested here. Does have to back off to get some healing, but is now going to be able to wrap around the other side. And even though the skirmish is still ongoing, Blank are able to get the point cap over. No one has died. This is just all ground control.
Again, so twice in a row now, Blank are able to just press out DeToNator and haven't turned on the gas here. They're now losing members as well. So Blank have initiated. They've also kept the point. Everything here is just going great for Blank. They're already stacking up their progress, and then on top of that, able to charge their ultimates finally off these kills too.
And the reason the kills actually finally started to come through, it wasn't because Blank necessarily did anything different. What happens in that situation of your DeToNator? The cap's already gone over. Nothing's going to change with where you're sat. You actually have to go on the aggressive yourself to try and get anything, and that does leave you a little bit vulnerable. It makes it very hard to execute, but you have no choice but to. Sticky bomb out.
Big kills.
Wow.
Stick that on the Blank highlight reel.
Yeah, they just all take a dive. They're like, nah. Gong sounds, team kill.
Higher indeed.
Yeah, guns
that's one way. That's one way to say hi. That's one way to just shake somebody's hand in a meeting. Blank triple
just
kill
throw a bomb on them
onto the spawn camp
Buddy,
as well.
What
The
meetings
spawn
have you
camp
been going
is,
to?
I don't know, very dangerous ones.
That'd be a really good one. Like if you were doing like a job interview to be a hired assassin, that would be a very convincing interview, I imagine.
Hired.
A hired assassin. Yeah, hire.
5 ultimates now for DeToNator. They're still failing to really break out of this hole. Then Blank are running out of options to get to. They have an offensive one out of ATAR, but he's not going to get a great angle in the sort of choky area. Gumba's going to keep their team alive, but I don't know. It's all up to DeToNator because all the time is sort of running out for them. Blank are happy to wait here.
Yeah, well, this is the commit now with the sound barrier out. That's the first defensive ultimate here from Blank is going to be this Transcendence. And DeToNator do actually have a path to the point here. Trill, good pickup onto him, actually. Good, yeah, and Amakin getting a good return kill. But there is still more mileage for DeToNator as they commit in with their Transcendence now out of Dodlov. But the kills are still coming up Blank. The DPS is still uncontested. They only just closed out on ATAR. And Idiop is still going uncontested. Now he finds Dodlov. He's still going to does get Eden. Very good response for Yoshiharu. But honestly, the DPS is not really a factor in this fight now for DeToNator. Good catch onto RQT, but this is still actually DeToNator trickling onto the point. They're not closing out enough kills onto Blank. Finally able to get one onto Kiki here because Amakin was able to rejoin the fight, but shortly after rejoining, gets pressured right back off again and goes down. That was his own Helix rocket there. That's why it looks like he committed suicide. DeToNator barely squeaking the cap through, sure, but Blank are over this one, and they are going to get this cap back.
And that's incredible because Blank was so far behind. They're not so far behind, but they were noticeably behind, at least in the kills department. DeToNator had that on lock, but as soon as Blank sort of rallied together, they're able to just overpower DeToNator. Overtime should be ticking down at any point. Should be a quicker 2-0.
Not quite 100-0 though. DeToNator had that claim to fame. We held the point for 15%.
Yeah, well, I mean,
halfway through one fight.
That so far has been better than Sunsister, so if there's any takeaway, that's kind of the first one.
They can join the club of technically better than Sunsister.
Well, they're already in that club, so I mean, it's kind of, it's
not the most
You're not really high, I'm already a member, but for Blank anyway, great sort of use of area control in both of those opening skirmishes. They're able to just push DeToNator out without even getting a kill. I think that speaks to a lot of how this team has performed because most teams will not just let you get a cap out and, you know, without sort of having a fight actually happen. It's just sort of this poke skirmish happening where neither team really wanted to commit, except Blank were moving forward and DeToNator were forcing themselves back, and eventually the point opens, Blank take it, and DeToNator is still trying to find an opportunity to go in.
Well, this could be the last one here for Blank on control, and this is probably their most favorite as well, Night Market. This is where Eat You Up on that Tracer can really go off, and that is exactly what I expect him to do. They're already set up on the point. Eat You Up is pressure on the back side of this one. This skirmish is already over, and it barely begun. Like, they're going to close this out, maybe even get a total party kill, and the point hasn't even unlocked yet.
And actually, Eat You Up wasn't a part of that initial fight to start things off. We're actually seeing triple DPS, so you get your wish, which is great. And the real Blank triple DPS too, not the version where they're running a Widowmaker in there, not the version where ATAR and Trill have swapped. This is the one that we're used to seeing from the early stages of the OPC.
Yeah, and this is also, in a way, the one that is the most volatile because you are running Zenyatta. You can only heal one person at a time. It's going to generally be Kiki. And,
well, I mean, your other options are Mercy and Anna, so realistically also healing just one person at a time as well, so there it is.
Yeah.
Either way, you're killing one person at a time.
Yeah, the general thing is, I mean, without the Bio Grenade, you can't quite get those cluster heals, but these DPS don't tend to be too grouped. You've got the self-heal from Soldier. I mean, it's volatile in that it can just kind of get cracked open if you get the right member at the right time, but here, even getting Kiki, it doesn't seem to be the right member at quite the right time here, because Blank They're still getting a lot of pressure down. DeToNator are finally going to be able to commit onto this one.
Great headshot.
Yeah, great headshot indeed. No defensive ultimates come down. DeToNator should be able to get themselves onto this point here.
A good change up from DeToNator as well. They're able to sort of... This kind of works quite well against the triple DPS because they're diving even harder, and with the flashbang, you have even better options to counter that dive now. So Harvey's actually getting a decent train of kills, which is fantastic. This has been a play that I kind of feel has been struggling on Trace for some time now. Able to pick up a decent number of kills against Blank is a really good showing. A cap out, the second one in the series on Lijiang as well. Hopefully this one's more than 15%.
I expect it will be as well. And it was a very well-deserved one as well. I mean, the other one happened partway through an ongoing fight, just because of how the fight had swung at that particular moment, and then it was swung back. But this is DeToNator had a plan, executed, counted out Blank's team comp, and won that fight, won that point fair and square.
Looking for the cheeky pulse bomb on side as well. We'll find out if that one went the way side that they want. It doesn't look like it.
Went wide, Eat You Up opens up, sound barrier is not going to help DeToNator, and they all fall down.
That's really disappointing because they still had a decent number of ultimates to actually commit there. They had so many options available to actually hold on to that fight and really put themselves forward.
Yeah.
So dying with all your ultimates and then letting the point go over, yeah, you got more than 15%, but really they should have won that with the amount of ultimates they actually held on to.
And I suppose that is the other side of the triple DPS coin. The fight before that, they shut it down well. They got the pick on the tank. They had the opening, and then, you know, it's a lot of squishy members there from Blank. Whereas this was the other one, all the DPS goes off all at once, they commit hard, and every single member of DeToNator got absolutely flattened.
They're going to have to come back now, at least with a decent advantage. It's going to be the Nano Deadeye.
Oh, hello.
Doesn't catch anybody. That's
yeah,
really
unfortunately his watch was not quite set right.
Doesn't need it though, he gets the kills from other.
Yeah, so there we go. Oh, never mind. That AVRL on his backside, able to close that one out. Good self-destruct, actually nicely placed, kind of forces Blank out of the point a little bit, but it's still not really enough because AVRL honestly had already got most of the kills by that point. Yoshiharu just doing it for show. That's a very late sound barrier.
It is. It was a kind of questionable one, but it actually closes the game out. So at the end of the day, that's kind of okay. So for Blank, couple of interesting moments in there. What I would say to really take away from this match is Blank played normal compositions throughout the entire series. Didn't really change anything up. It's not like the Sun Sister series where you go on to Lighthouse and suddenly things are different. That again was a great sort of highlight from Eat Up.
Yeah. I don't know how Trill got the play of the game, thanks. That was Eat You Up. I suppose
he helped. He helped.
He was there. He was present. Witness me.
Hi, I'm here too.
Yeah. Hi there.
Hi there. Exactly. But yeah, that's the biggest takeaway is Blank played their normal setup. They played seriously. They played to win. Not that they don't play to win normally, but they played to really win against their opponent. This is what you would play if you're just, you know, you don't want to let go of the gas pedal essentially for Blank, and they didn't do that, and they got that 3-0. But actually, even with that, DeToNator were able to not cap out, but rather flip the cap for themselves a number of times.
That they absolutely were, and I think most notably was that 1-on-9 market actually. And yeah, it was triple DPS, and like I said, that is the other side of the triple DPS coin. But this is exactly why Blank haven't been running triple DPS lately against the other sort of major top teams, and that is because of that volatility. Look, if a team like DeToNator.GOLD can adequately shut you down, in 1 out of 3 major fights, you don't want to run that kind of risk because all it takes is for it to be 2 out of 3 major fights and suddenly you have lost that game. It's not going off often enough. Ideally, you would want your triple DPS to be absolutely firing hard every single fight in this sort of matchup. So, look, it worked, but actually, yeah, DeToNator counted it out adequately. This is also why Blank haven't been playing it against other top teams. Frankly, DeToNator can be happy with that.
I think it's definitely a much better performance against Blank than Suns used to have, which is the biggest thing for these two teams now, looking at both their performances against Blank, how they measure up themselves compared to the other Japanese side. So far, it would sort of speak to say DeToNator are looking ahead, which is not where Sun Sister want to be. They don't want to be in a situation where DeToNator still looks so much further ahead of them. And don't forget, this is on a Lijiang Tower map, which is Blank's best game, but we're on to control. Yeah. They won control very convincingly still. But it wasn't as convincing as the Sun Sister victory, which is the disappointing thing for that Japanese.
So by the way, this is the opening fight where that triple DPS went off, and you see that mostly coming out of Trill. Like you said, actually, Eat You Up hadn't been able to commit to the fight at least initially. It was quite a while until he joined it, and this is actually where he was during that fight. So watch when the kill comes up, right? Trill opens up. Now EDUP is starting to put out damage onto these members of the team here, and even then, it's mostly Trill and ATAR. So as much as we say EDUP is favored, that is exactly the power of triple DPS, right? How well it can just go off like that.
Well, Trill found the openings quite quickly, and it's really up to Kiki to create the openings from the Winston, and then one of the DPSs, maybe even two of the DPSs, ideally just your whole team, but a minimum, you know, 2 DPSs, take advantage of that. In that case, it was Ato and it was Trill as well. EDUP went for the big flank. He came out for the mop-up play on the back end, didn't actually pick up any kills, but still managed to get the damage and to help out his team. So it's one of those things that can work super well. And actually, the biggest reason you run a Zenyatta is because the Harmony Orb is more reliable generally for healing. It doesn't mean you have to commit too hard as a support, and it means you get that guaranteed heal onto this Tracer who's very far away from you, and also onto the Genji who's also very far away from you. That's the biggest reason. And also because the Discord is important for the dive.
Exactly. And the truth of triple DPS as well as Soldier does have a bit of a self-heal. Tracer with that recall, if you're a smart Tracer, you know, you pick your fights, you've got that recall in the back pocket if things get hairy. And you should always be skirmishing with an easy retreat path to a health pack. If that's not happening, if you're constantly asking for healing, you're not a good Tracer. It's that simple. Take note, solo queue players. And that's exactly why you can get away with that Zenyatta, because as much as it is a single target, you're right, you can attach that to a Genji fairly safety, you can attach it to just the Winston fairly safety, and you're just kind of tossing it.
Line of sight doesn't matter.
Exactly.
For the most part, which is important.
And if worse comes to worse, you can just regroup around your Lucio if you all need a bit of a top off.
And this is going to be that triple kill, sticks it onto Zetman, so not Zetman, that's from a different team, sticks it onto Samurai D.
That's how hard that stick was, right? He stuck it onto Samurai D, but it killed Zetman in another game. That's what happened. That's how great a pulse bomb was. It defeated 2 teams at once.
Zetman's in his own barbecue right now. He's
and his pulse bomb out of nowhere, like, what? Like, watches the kill count, he sees that highlight.
On the kill feed it says, EDUP just killed him, and he's like, but he's not even Unbelievable.
Zetman just can't catch a break.
Fix that, please, Jeff, come on.
Jeff, jeez.
Fix that, you can't
Fix
have that.
this game.
Do
you even play this game, Jeff?
We
all saw that forum post, right? We all saw that. Apparently they're all good now. Apparently they patched it up. Like they had a heart-to-heart, their best buds.
That's good. He's got a lot of wins. He's got over 800 wins. So that's
like,
fantastic.
wow.
I didn't even have that. I shouldn't have said that, but that's fine.
Well, like he's...
Congrats to Jeff.
Well, he said like he's personally accountable for what, like 5 copies of the game or something that he has personally bought. Like I've only bought 1 copy, so he's already ahead of me there.
Yeah, and there's people that have bought. There are people that have bought none as well. Someone gifted it to them.
So I guess I'm ahead of them.
Exactly. So that's something. And Blanca currently.
Actually, my grandmother bought it for
Blanca.
me
Just moving on for a second, though. Blanca ahead of like a majority of teams are definitely ahead of now both Japanese teams in a pretty big way. The good thing for I guess DeToNator now moving on is you're now past control.
Kings Row.
You're onto other maps and other game modes where you are slightly more favored.
I really think we're going to Kings Row here.
Why would you say that? What evidence? What evidence do you have for that?
I like the Disco Kings Row there. Oh man, that is my favorite.
Oh, you got to find some way to be able to get off those dance emotes, and you know, actually the big question tonight will be if DeToNator can actually get a map win somewhere. Maybe that's going to be Assault. Kings Row will be a good chance for DeToNator to show, I guess, prove their mettle a little bit on something that is a bit more neutral for them rather than on Control, which is heavily blank favored.
Yes.
And then going on to Assault, where they should technically be favored, can they actually then get that map win or not? Because if they can't, that says a lot about still how far Blanc are ahead of everybody else, including, well, specifically the Japanese teams.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, as much as this is Blank's pick, we are going to the stock standards for this. You know, in the last series, we went to Ilios, we went to Numbani. Like, they're not odd, but they are a little bit off the beaten track. These are like the 2 most standard picks right now in this particular order. Lijiang Tower, followed by Kings Row. Doesn't matter who's playing.
Yeah.
This is so common now. Yeah, neutral territory. That is the way I'd describe this. And again, the opportunity exists for DeToNator to have a good showing. Even if they don't even pull off a map win, they actually could pull off a map win. I'm not at all going to rule that possibility out, but this is a great place for them to just have a good showing, show how much they have improved, have something in the back pocket, have, you know, even just, heck, a morale boost going into relegations.
I actually think DeToNator's best showing so far has been on Numbani, and specifically against Blanc as well. That's when Numbani was actually, DeToNator really pushed Blank to, I would say,
quite right.
some of their limits there. On King's Row, I would say DeToNator have had a lot of troubles. Now, I don't talk about the other two maps with them because we haven't really seen DeToNator on Icon World that much, if at all. We haven't really seen them on Hollywood either. So it's been mainly King's Row, it's been mainly Numbani, and Numbani has been the better map out of those two options.
And it's funny, actually, they had a similar showing on Numbani against AHQ as well, DeToNator. So
yeah.
that's again, a thing that Blank have had to consider here. And I think that is part of the motivator for going to King's Row over Numbani here, naturally.
Yeah, for Blank as well, they got decent hybrids. Numbani is obviously one of their very, very good hybrids. King's Row is just kind of here or there. It's just, it's good.
Goodness.
It's standard.
May has like isolated me in this underground tunnel. We've got the Dutch tilt going on. That was like a horror movie for a moment.
And then Lucio comes down. Everything's
Menacingly skates away.
fine. It was Lucio the whole time. Posing
Lucio,
as the
yeah.
main.
Bruce Willis, turns out he was Lucio.
Alright, so we're back on the standard stuff for Blank. So, for this matchup, this is, again, not like Sun Sister where you're going to see something different out of them. It's also not Numbani, so, I think if Blank were more confident here against DeToNator, they would have gone to Numbani and they would have maybe tried something there, but they want to take away Numbani at all from DeToNator, and they're going to run very standard against DeToNator the whole way through.
And this is my least favorite team comp from DeToNator, and here's why. Amigan's already dead. Amigan's already dead.
That's the result. That's the cause of,
Yeah, this is triple tank with only 1 DPS. He's already dead. They are looking for that Graviton Dragon Strike combo. I'm going to be honest, when we've seen this in the past, they've rarely got it. Look, maybe they've refined this, maybe they've improved this, maybe they can make this work, but I honestly feel a little bit like DeToNator should actually just play something a bit more stock standard here.
Yeah, I mean, Blank are not wasting any time with that, so, take a page out of their book maybe and do something.
A blank page, as it were.
Oh, blank page gets you a lot of room to write on that, so why not write your own fate?
I mean, you're not wrong at all. Good charge by Samurai D, and they are actually getting the pressure down by these tanks. But again, this is where the lack of DPS actually hurts you. Sure, you've taken ground, you've got a good position, but you can't actually close out kills. I mean, who is Anakin meant to shoot, right? How is Anakin ever meant to do enough damage to kill Trill? They're really going to be having to rely on Saihade. And already here, ATAR's popped Yoshiharu's mech. They're essentially lacking a tank. Trill has the ultimate, goes deep, Pulse Bomb connects, and DeToNator get absolutely flushed out.
Trill was, that was an interesting string of events for Trill, and you nearly cost him his life as well, but DeToNator, you're right, flushed out one more time. They're about to hit that combo soon, but actually Saihate is so far behind in Graviton Surge, they need to be able to get this combo off, and they need it because they have, both the ultimates sort of have to be able to align, and we've already 2 fights in, 2 minutes already gone just for 1 combo.
Yeah. And then, by the way, you actually still have to connect the Graviton. I mean, you have to get in a good enough position safely to do that. It has to not get eaten by Kiki. This is so high risk, high reward, and if you don't get that combo off, you struggle to execute on anything else because of the lack of damage output. Dodlov picked off means no nano boost. Saihade is going to die before he gets the Graviton. And again, they're going to have to wait another push. And Anakin is completely isolated. It's like the floor is lava. There was no way back to base for him.
And it's like, it's not just the fact that, yeah, he's down again, they got to wait for him to respawn, but actually he doesn't have his ultimate, which is the biggest factor. The fact that because he's still respawning and he spent so long in the respawn room across the entire attack on this King's Row so far, he's barely had the opportunity. He's about to just get his first Graviton Surge. 3 minutes already gone in this attack.
Yeah, they're nearly out of time. Honestly, if they fail here, they maybe get one more. They're going to have to go for it. Getting into position now. The Graviton is just about there, but they still have to get a good position. Luckily for them, Pulse Bomb wide from Eat You Up. There we go. Saihade finally has it again. Needs to not get eaten. Where are the healers, though? For this Reinhardt, Samurai D having a bit of a hard time.
He can't find enough people.
Yeah, they're getting bio-grenaded from the side. He can't find enough people. They can't even get out of this room. They're going to get flushed out again. Now Kiki throws in the self-destructive. Already committed a sound barrier, but they lose delay of 2 at Yoshiharu forced out. They can't commit to this fight when they finally have everything up because, again, it is so hard just to get the position right for it that they aren't able to execute. They are just losing time here.
It's really unfortunate. They're going to lose a lot of members as well. We're about to head into overtime pretty soon, nearing that 40-second mark. We still haven't gotten that combo off. They're only going to get 1 shot now to make this combo
losing
work.
Yoshiharu's
4
mech.
minutes, the entire duration of your attack just for 1 combo. And even when Saihate, now that he does actually have the Graviton Surge, you actually see the positioning out of Blank. They read this. Not only can Kiki eat it, but actually, if Kiki doesn't eat it, you're only going to get 2 members, and one of them is going to be Kiki.
Now they have to wait for Yoshiharu to respawn. That's probably the most brutal pet diva play I've ever seen, because
I've seen
they had to. Yeah, the thing is, they were at 40 seconds before Yoshiharu lost his mech. They are less than 10 now. They have to go right here, right now. Let's see what Saihara can catch. It doesn't get eaten. That is a good way to start. Dragon Strike committed. It is not picking up the kills at all. Not even Trill dies. Everyone's alive. The nano boost is not enough. I am sorely and thoroughly disappointed by this decision by DeToNator.
Sorry,
I won't say any more on that, because I think the defeat speaks for itself. They are going to get first held here, and they're better than that.
You do sound like such a disappointed. You are better than that. You are better than that.
It's like you come home with low grades, and instead of your dad punishing you, he sits you down. He's just like, I'm disappointed, and like that's just so much worse.
I'm disappointed, and you are also so much better than that.
I like that. I think that is the most devastating thing for your dad to say, right? I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Like, I wish you would just be angry.
Well, so for
Or
DeToNator,
was that just my childhood?
I actually want to be a little bit too personal. DeToNator.GOLD actually were the other thing I didn't mention that I kind of wanted to say off the back of that combo was essentially, look, even if you do get the Dragon Strike going, even if you do get the whole combo going, and by the way, the Nano Boost was committed onto Anakin specifically so the Dragon Strike would do more damage, 0 kills, and that's not out of the, that just happens because it landed on 2 tanks. He didn't grab, to my knowledge, any of the supports of the DPS, so he got both the tanks. And a lot of the times, even if you do get a decent number of members, you just don't get the kills. Maybe you get 1 kill. So you want to commit 3 ultimates and get 1 kill. It's just, you get more. You get more out of a basic Dragon Blade.
Exactly. Here's the thing, right? We have seen them run this comp before and have it really struggle, if not almost completely fail. And what was happening is they weren't even actually getting the combo off. They committed about 3 Dragon Strikes. All of them went wide. And they were able to get kills through in other ways, mainly out of the tanks. And honestly, a lot of it was on that particular day. Saihara on, what's the name? Zarya, there we go. Saihara, who was playing the Zarya, was actually doing a lot of damage and getting a lot of kills through. And between that and Samurai D, they were actually able to connect. They were able to get the payload underway. And even then, that felt shaky. It felt like what they were intending to do wasn't working at all. They just happened to be getting something else kind of working. Heck, I'd rather they just commit to that.
Actually, you know what?
Why not just commit to triple tank and cut out the Hanzo?
This is another situation where I think a team has focused too much onto one win condition and kind of ignored everything. This is Blank playing the Bastion and the Binding all over again.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? In that other game that I'm referencing, DeToNator, they got the Dragon Strike off 3 times, and each time it failed. This time, they only got off 1 time. They couldn't even get it off that many times. So yeah, look, this is just Blank, like, oh.
They only need to get third.
This is like purely spiteful out of Atar. He's like, look, this is how you do it.
Actually, Atar's not really getting that much done either. He's just sort of there. He got a kill at the end there, but you know, Dodoloff was already low. So really for Blank, it was just the rest of the other members, and that's kind of, you almost wish DeToNator played like that as a style kind of thing, because we discussed this. You have a composition built around a single win condition. In this case, it was get the Dragon Strike nano boosted through the Graviton Surge. They did that, they got nothing out of it. But actually, for the entire 4 minutes they waited, they could have been looking for other possible win conditions, which were Anakin maybe trying to look for headshots somewhere, and he was going for that, he just wasn't finding anything. Cool, you don't get that. Maybe the other side of it was also Saihara actually getting high charge on his energy, actually being able to do a lot of damage, because the Zarya carry is actually the most standard, not standard, but the most reliable DPS in that composition out of everybody. That's the only person that should have a reliable DPS, because it's a known quantity. The Hanzo will headshot or he won't, and that'll either, you know, he'll either get the kills or he won't, but the Zarya will get damage, and if it's a good Zarya that gets the energy and doesn't die, that just wasn't the case, and none of they just didn't get anything across the board, which is unfortunate.
The thing is, right, I actually can't understand why they are running this team comp. It's not like they can't run standard things. They actually can, and they have, and they've done well with them. It has only been recently we've seen them going into this on King's Row. It's not a better strategy. It's not a better strategy than the more standard things being played, which they can play, which are more consistent. I just don't understand why DeToNator keep opting into something that is harder to make work when they are not even favored in this matchup. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because DeToNator know what they did.
go to your room.
Exactly.
Exactly what that sounded like. But it was a situation where, like, to sort of, I guess, the silver lining, or not even the silver lining, but to make sense of it is, look, you know you're not favored, so you want to pull out something where maybe you can, to throw a spanner in the works again, to really surprise the other team, or, you know, kind of just confuse them a little bit, if anything, if nothing at the end of the day, because you know you're not favored, so running standard, well, you just know you're not going to beat them on standard, and maybe your only chance is to run something a little bit strange. But even then, I have less of a problem with the strat or the composition. I have more of a problem with the way they execute it, which was, like I said, too focused and too tunnel vision on a single win condition, not exploring the other options there, which was the Hanzo getting the kills in other ways other than the ultimate, and the Xayah just getting damage and kills in general because it's Xayah. So those are the other two options that they should have really been able to push.
Yeah. You're completely right there. And I mean, look, my personal take had been I kind of wanted them to play something standard so that that was the moment right there. Yeah, so that they could actually have a point of comparison for themselves of where their relative strengths lie. Because we've been talking about the importance of them showing improvement, given that they're headed to relegations. I'm going to be honest, I certainly hope they don't pull this team compound in relegations. If they do, I don't know if they'll come back.
Well, I mean, it's like, that being said, there's no reason it doesn't, A, it doesn't improve, and B, that the actual PNR teams can deal with it, because one more time, this is against Blank. Blank cannot go to relegations. The teams in relegations will most likely not be on Blank's level.
That is a completely fair assessment as well. You're not wrong, but yeah, I suppose we've actually kind of explored every facet of that. We'd be restating, yeah, look, you can run more standard things. You can also opt not to, and I think ultimately it comes down to that is a high risk, high reward strategy. That they didn't get the rewards.
Pretty much, I think the scoreline kind of says it right there. First held as well. Blank kind of just rolled on through. They had a Hanzo.
With a Hanzo
which by the way, was just a bit of a... It was negligible.
But it got one headshot, and it's more than what Anakin got.
Anakin got headshots, he just got headshots on tanks, which didn't equate to kills. But that's the thing, because actually the Blank members played around it quite well, because they hid, they made sure they weren't in typical places that you were just going to get picked out. So,
well, and here's the thing as well. They actually, I will also say, actually, to Blank's credit, they read what the strategy was. So they kind of set their tanks up, like they know that DeToNator aren't going to go for this more kind of frontal assault on the point. They had, the standard kind of things in the high ground. There's nothing on that squad there for DeToNator that would contest that. So what they did, they set their healers well back. They set the tanks around the far side of the hotel room. Knowing that was where DeToNator were going to go. So you can't really get those shots with the Hanzo, because every time you shoot the tanks, that's the only target that's in your sightlines. Every time you shoot the tanks, the healers who are set way back at the streets, who have sightlines to their tanks, are just going to chop them right off. All they needed to do was counter out the Graviton and make it as difficult as possible for Saihada to commit, and make it very difficult for him to build up charge. And they did exactly that, and all you need to do for that is minimize the kind of space they get. Damage the Reinhardt shield, I mean, that's down. Honestly, don't shoot people.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to praise the favorite child as well that has the college scholarship, which is the way Blank kind of played the situation. The specific one is when Saihate actually got the Graviton Surge, the last minute, right? The last minute, right? He got the Graviton Surge, and you look at his target selection, it's like, I can Graviton here, it's just Kiki and RQT, everybody else is gone. They're not dead, they're just not there, and I have no good Graviton situations. One last opportunity now, same situation that Sun Sister would now, and DeToNator, can they pick up the win in Assault? We're going to have to find out, and that's all going to happen right after this break. Thank you for joining us again as we're about to head into map 3 of Blank Esports versus DeToNator.GOLD. It's going to be Assault. It will be DeToNator's pick, and it will also be their final opportunity to put one on the scoreboard.
That it will be, to say the least. I don't really know what I'm expecting, actually. I was going to say I'm expecting...
Grades.
Yeah.
Better grades,
yeah. No TV until your grades improve. I was going to say I'm expecting Temple of Anubis, but actually I'm not particularly sure anymore. I feel like there's a lot of arguments for a lot of things.
Not Volskaya, probably.
Well, the
Hanamura,
thing is, though, DeToNator did beat AHQ on Volskaya.
That's correct.
That is a thing that did happen. So that was a long time ago, and like since then we have said, well, there's an argument for Volskaya. They did beat AHQ there, and they've consistently like just not gone to Volskaya. I don't know. I really have no idea what they're going to pick here, but I don't want them to see run Hanzo.
I think Hanamura, and the reason I think Hanamura is it has been DeToNator's standard assault pick so far. It is also statistically Blank's worst assault map.
Yes, and it reminds them of home.
Who? Blank or?
DeToNator.
I was going to say like...
the Japanese!
Yeah, well, I was talking about Blank. Like, it reminds them of home, like... I'm talking about blank here, so I don't know who you're referring to.
They live in like this. They live in
home.
like
that
one
alternate
specific
universe,
part of
that
Australia.
alternate universe, it is blanks from Japan.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, like they live in like a specific part of Australia that has like a Japanese temple and cherry blossoms, like the one part. Like,
the rest of Australia's a desert.
yeah, just all of
It's just
there's 3 cities and then there's desert and then there's that one Japanese temple called Hanamura. That's Australia in a nutshell. Yeah.
But it is interesting that blank have had the worst record on Hanamura. They've got they have a positive record to memory on every other assault map. And their best one, I would actually say, I think the best one is, no, actually not even just, it's like, for example, 6-2 on Temple of Anubis, right? But then you go to Hanamura and it's suddenly like 2-8 or 4-8. I don't know. It's very negative.
Not great.
And Hanamura seems to be where they typically lose on assault, and I don't know what the reason is for that in particular, but assault doesn't really favor them in general, but of the assaults, Hanamura is the worst.
Yeah, actually, that's completely fair, and that is the argument for DeToNator to go there, really, when it comes down to it.
And I don't suggest Volsky just because, like, they did beat HQ, and that was in the third round robin, so it wasn't super long time ago. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, I don't think AHQ run their Sombra as cohesively as
certainly
Blank
not,
which is a big problem.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right? As much as that is true with DeToNator versus AHQ, look, maybe they would take AHQ there again, sure, but this is Blank. This is a different team, and you're right. I actually think Blank's Volskaya is much better than AHQ's, and that is an adequate reason for DeToNator to not take it. And look, as much as we can equate AHQ and Blank in a lot of regards, once again, they are 2 different teams, but furthermore, Blank are currently the better of those 2 teams. They beat AHQ fair and square. Their record is 2-2, but on the whole, Blank have picked up more wins. They had the 2nd place seed. It is a narrow thing. They are very similar. They are very comparable, but they are 2 different teams at 2 different skill levels. And you must, respect that Blank are going to be a slightly tougher challenge than AHQ at all times.
Absolutely. And what's actually interesting about that is just a fun little tidbit is if Blank and AHQ actually have the same score hypothetically for some reason at the end of this, AHQ actually take that one out on a tiebreaker because AHQ have technically won more maps against Blank than Blank have done to them, but that is a separate discussion because DeToNator do in fact go to Hanamura like a predicted, which is good. And I think they would have gone there regardless of Blank's results because this is their favored map, and they are not only picking for themselves. I mean, they're not only picking against Blank, but they're picking for themselves, which is the important thing.
And actually, that's the ideal, right? We haven't actually talked about this much over this tournament, but we have seen it plenty often. That is the ideal, right? Where you are in a situation where you have the map pick, you have a map that is good for you, that the other team is slightly weaker on. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, awesome. Take it and run with it.
This will be their best opportunity as well. You're on Blank's worst game mode, potentially even worse map, statistically the worst map of that game mode as well. So if you're DeToNator, if you're not going to beat Blank here, I don't think you're going to beat Blank anywhere.
No, well, if you're not going to beat them here, then you're definitely not going to beat them anywhere because you don't meet them again this tournament. And,
that's true.
And
that's another reason.
And are running the risk of not being in Season 2, let's not forget that. So that is a very real
not only
possibility.
you're not going to play them again, you might not have a chance to play them again.
Yeah, exactly. And scrims don't count. They don't. Scrims are practice. Remember, always remember that scrims are practice. Yeah, I'm actually, you know what? Why not? Never trust scrim results. If you are a spectator, if you are into esports, if you're into esports, this is some wisdom from Dad, right? Scrim results are interesting. They can inform you about some things with regards to teams. But when you hear something like, oh, blah, blah, blah team is undefeated in scrims, that does not mean they're going to go undefeated in regular play. Scrims are a completely different situation. Scrims are where teams practice things. Scrims are where teams like Blank... Yeah, scrims are where Flash Wolves have been practicing Orisa endlessly, and I guarantee you they've been losing a lot with Orisa, right? But does that mean Flash Wolves are a bad team? No, they've gone undefeated since week 4. That's phenomenal, right? So just keep in mind, don't always take scrim results off the cuff.
For people that have a competitive team in scrim.
Yeah.
For everyone else that just plays Overwatch, just do what you want.
Yeah,
you're fine.
You go ahead, fine. You play hard to attack bunny.
You do you on Overwatch, you're okay. You're okay, I like you.
Yeah. Well, look.
You can date my daughter. You're fine.
End rant. We are on Hanamura, and what a beautiful place. Sun's out, guns out.
Yeah, except people are vandalizing the place because they're destroying all the fences and whatnot.
Yeah, it's funny. You can shoot the leaves off the trees. Also, you can shoot the blossoms off the trees, but They never run out of blossoms.
I'll tell you what, this is canon in my version of Overwatch, but Diablo came in and like destroyed the bell inside that first section, so there it is.
Yeah, because that's
Diablo came in and wrecked that.
That's in a promotion for Heroes of the Storm. Yeah. Man, that game is all kinds of funky.
That's canon for me. That's cinematic.
Is Heroes of the Storm canon? Well, the cavalry is here at Hanamura, and it hasn't got a horse. I don't understand why she refers to herself as cavalry, because cavalry refers to either mounted or armored. Well, and Samurai D is neither mounted nor armored and is dead.
He is a samurai though.
He's a samurai, yes.
Well,
but a samurai...
Eat-Up's doing him. Eat-Up's doing Eat-Up.
Yeah, a samurai would not be considered cavalry, by the way. But yeah, Eat-Up is doing Eat-Up, absolutely sweeping up the back line here. So Hardy pushed out already. Blank, they are on a roll.
This is a very quick sort of attack there. I think they're trying to beat their record on Sky against Sun Sister. What is it, 6 minutes 30?
Tell you what, I think Blank have dinner reservations or something. Like they've got somewhere to be.
Imagine if DeToNator sort of made them lose. They would not only lose the DeToNator, but they would also lose their reservation.
It's like American Psycho.
Never be allowed to make a reservation in that restaurant again.
Yeah, it's like American Psycho. I've got an 8:30 reservation. Gotta hurry. Well, let's see if they can actually push it through to the second point. They are off to a good start. That is Dodlob, you're right. No one down just yet. They haven't got much more aside from Yoshiharu's mech. On the cusp of losing Kiki's, they do need to be careful. That's a good trade back, but with these extra kills coming through for Blank, and Atar kind of set up on this high ground, actually bumping Kiki's mech is probably a good one for them. They might actually be able to get a third. Oh, so Hardy shut down, and it looks like they're going to actually get a third despite these losses here. No, you know what? They're going to get more. Why not? The tanks are out the gate, but they cannot really contest yet as they go to the DPS.
May's out.
Amakin's swapping up to May. They're going for stalls here, but I don't know if they need to. The defender's advantage will actually help them out here, but actually, yeah, maybe it was a good call to do that because this tactical visor is big. The wall does actually block off a good number, but he's able to get onto the backliners instead, closes them both off. Amakin will unfreeze himself, but he is alone on the point.
No one's here.
Yoshiharu is only just respawned. You're right, no one's here. Blank, they definitely have dinner reservations.
6:06, very good time. Anything above 6 is a total wipeout. I mean, what is it, 6:30 against Sun Sister and Volsky? They didn't quite make that record, but they were going for it. They were really attempting. Couple of good return kills from DeToNator towards the end there. Amakin did actually kill, I believe it was Amakin anyway, who killed Eat-Up, which really stops Blank at least for a bit because he's one of the members that really pushes Blank forward in those sort of fights where he can just get those kills in a very messy fight, and that's how Blank, even in a losing situation, can pull themselves together, and in a winning situation, they just win more.
So, the place where we have most recently seen exactly that happen was in Fireball picking up their win against Blank, and that was Apudo uncontested on that high ground. Oh no, actually it wasn't against Blank, it was against someone else. Try to remember that team. It might have actually been DeToNator or Sun Sister.
It was one of those two teams.
But in any case, he did it twice in a row because it went to time bank. He got set up on that high ground. He also had a tactical visor, funny enough, but like that's the strength of putting a soldier up in that high ground. That is what an attack soldier is looking to do on Hanamura, and it's probably one of the best heroes for getting a good snowball in that regard. So, like, take notes, you know? A team like DeToNator, you've got to appreciate that that is going to happen, and you need to be ready to counter-dive that soldier, to dislodge them there. You can't just half-heartedly commit Amakin's Genji, go, oh, I couldn't do it, I'll go eat you up instead. You've actually got to commit, you have to displace them, otherwise they're uncontested.
The best thing about Blank's offense was the timing of it was so quick that DeToNator didn't get ultimates, and the few that they did, Saihante's Tac Visor instantly shut down. He actually fully used it too, so it wasn't even a case where he activated, but actually the ult was given back to him because he died too quickly. He just lost the ult altogether. No one else got ults. Amakin didn't get a Dragon Ball. He swapped onto Mei, so there's no opportunity there either. So it ended up being a very tough situation for DeToNator, where they actually just didn't have a chance to get enough damage and to even get a hope of returns.
By the way, back to the same strategy here now that Blank actually pulled out on Numbani earlier against Sun Sister. The Orisa and
this read from Amakin is great. It directly counters out the strat.
Yeah, actually very nicely done. They're going to be able to wrap around the other side. Now
it's not even intentional.
Atar and Kiki actually have to reposition.
Ooh, that was good actually. That hold might have actually pulled players off the top high ground, and that would have kind of messed up the setup from DeToNator onto their next push. But this is a good play now. I think DeToNator unintentionally have brought out a very good composition against what Blank are running and should have an advantage here if they can execute properly. And that is a good start.
That is fantastic. Yes, that actually isolates the turrets. They should be able to close it up. Oh, unfortunately, I think it was just on the turret. Yeah, so Eat Up is on the back line. He's trying to do what work he can. Has to go for the recall, actually, so he's not having as much free reign as he'd like. The turret is out of the picture here. And actually, they're set up on the point itself. Turret now getting reset further back. But yeah, they're getting kills now. The cap is going their way. Anakin, he doesn't quite get the heals off that because of the well-placed fire grenade. But look, the shield stops the reinforcements from coming in so they can pick off Kiki. This is really well done by DeToNator. They haven't actually lost a member yet either. And Eat Up hasn't died on the backline, but he's being forced out. He's not actually having free reign. The Molten Core now is the thing that is going to...
very cold Molten Core.
Yeah. It's cold fusion.
Frozen core.
Yeah. But so again, the walls stop the reinforcement. Gunbit is forced to take a dive, and he's only just going to reset.
Look, we've just blasted DeToNator for running a weird setup play, but now they've completely turned it around, executed perfectly, and did exactly what they needed to beat Blank on that first cap. Another got ultimates too.
Eat Up wide of the pulse bomb. Good biotic grenade makes it a little unsafe for the other Shadow. That's a huge one. Oh boy. The charge in as well. The Blizzard is down. Blank are in disarray. Trill picks off. Huge raise, but still plenty of fight left in DeToNator. Let's see if they can close out more as they pick Gunbit. Kiki in trouble. Mech is down. They're trying to close out an RQT. No return kills just yet as Eat You Up is forced to recall. AVRL and Eat You Up both down now. This is going to be a third through. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a match on our hands, I'll tell you that much. And the kills are still coming up DeToNator. They are the ones entrenched here.
The Ice Wall's still doing work.
Nano boost onto Trill, but again, you're right, the Ice Wall. There isn't heaps of follow-up. A good charge onto Kiki. They may be able to get a second, third yet here as much as they're struggling. A full rack of respawns now for Blank. They are going to be able to keep this one alive. DeToNator do need to convert some kills here quickly.
Yeah, they do.
I do still feel that they can.
Shatter again.
Oh, this could be the one. Ooh, just barely catches the right member though. Eat You Up, and that is going to be potentially.
They got to keep Saihate alive.
Yeah. Yoshiharu is a self-destruct. He really needs to commit here. That's a catch onto RQT.
Oh, another catch.
Man, one-man army. Samurai D, unfortunately,
I thought Yoshiharu was the fisherman.
Yeah, Yoshiharu did not quite commit the self-destruct at an ideal moment, and unfortunately, they get repelled on the cusp of getting the second, third. But man, DeToNator, what a ride.
That was a lot off the back of Trill as well, because he managed to get the Primal Rage into the middle of that fight, and that's what kind of bought the time for Blank to get the reinforcements in. Without that Primal Range, or had he died for whatever reason before the Primal Rage come out, or maybe a good Ice Wall or a good main freeze really blocked him out, that would have been the end of Blank's defense. They would have been pushed out, this would have been DeToNator cap, and we would have gone into time bank.
And that would have been some exciting stuff. We may get to time bank yet, actually. DeToNator can play for thirds here. They do need to run some ultimates out of Blank first, but absorbing the pulse bomb is a good way to start. AVRL getting pressured off, needs to be careful. Oh dear, not going to save Saihate. He ran away from his team. It was wakey, big mistakey. AVRL, he is getting pressured out, but he should actually be all right here. Now Trill going on the aggressive, and DeToNator will be forced back. But they have done what they needed to, and that is their forced out ultimates.
They have, and they're not actually, done here yet. You actually see from Trill's position, he's still looking to get a little bit aggressive. AVRL is actually still in the fight as well, so they're buying a lot of time here by actually pushing DeToNator out, not allowing them to regroup where they want to, changing up all their positioning as well. Anakin even changes now onto his third hero on this attack.
Yeah, and heck, why not? He didn't actually give up too much out of that either, so that's not the end of the world there. They've got a good run of ultimates up. They've got a lot of pick potential. I do like what they're kind of going for here, and I hope they can get a third through this.
One thing they didn't do well was they didn't protect Saihate, and I kept saying, like, you got to keep him alive for this because they're trying to set him up on the high ground, but that's not going to happen if Eat Up keeps picking him on the back line. If AVRL keeps picking him on the back line, you have to protect the soldier. He will be your win condition that you're looking for.
And that is exactly what AVRL is trying to do with this, by the way. That's all he's doing
5
here.
ults, by the way.
Yeah, and as soon as they get an opportunity, he'll commit on this front side with the Dragon Blade if he needs to. In right 5 ults, DeToNator. They need to press the go button, much like we saw with Sunsister on Volskaya. This timidness, yeah, it's starting to hurt them. They're losing time.
Come on, son, don't be timid. Just go in there.
Yeah, don't even know who Tim is.
That's
the commit. There we go. Nano Visor indeed to commit out. That gets RQT out of that one. Trying to get aggressive now, and we'll be able to get Kiki out of the mech. Actually, wasn't able to get the full block off, and meanwhile they are actually on the point while this has been going on. Blanket kind of zoned off to the side. Yeah, Earthshatter could be huge. Delay goes down. The Earth Shatter's not massive because they don't quite catch Atar, who's now opening right on up. And Sayhadi had only really just wheeled around to rejoin his team, hasn't really properly recommitted to the fight. But I tell you what, they have done all that they needed to do. They got the second third. They can play for thirds. They can get this over the line. They can go to time back.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 30 now, just under that remaining. They have no ultimate, so the biggest takeaway is 5 ults committed for 1/3. You get the 1/3, which is it's a good amount of progress. Unfortunately, you hope for a little bit more out of 5 ultimates, and actually Blank only committed 3 off the back of that. A big one was actually Kiki's self-destruct, which wasted a lot of Sayhate's time. Sayhate had to completely run around the back. Half his nanovisor was just gone off the back of that as well, so well played by Kiki.
Yeah, with that Earth Shatter gone, now Samurai D is going over onto this Winston so that he can kind of look that his backline is a little bit better. Oh dear, that was an awkwardly committed bio grenade out of Dodlov actually, because he had the anti-heal on him, so he gets picked off. As much as they had a good hook onto Atar, they probably can't commit to this one, and yeah, using Yoshiharu. They should have actually pulled back the moment they lost Dodlov, because all they're doing now is losing time.
They are forcing ult.
That is actually quite good for them. They do force that out, and yeah, now they'll be much happy to kind of take this loss on the chin here and just retreat.
I mean, I'd be feeling so much better about that if they had saved Anakin's ult. I think RQT soundburied because Anakin also whole hog, but I don't know why he whole hog. If your goal was to block to get out the ult, I don't think that was a good trade because at the end of the day, you lose a bunch of time and your ult is actually, if you got an ult, you want to be able to win a fight, not just get a 1-for-1 trade against defenders who, you know, at the moment still have a lot of other options. You don't even get a 1-for-2 trade, you just got a 1-for-1, which is not good enough.
Blank obviously looked hungry, so Anakin fed them a whole hog, and you're right, they very willingly took it.
And that was an important fight for Blank because, you know, we were going to have a neutral one with DeToNator to come up with no ults. Blank had no ults either. Now Blank do have ults and DeToNator don't. Oh, wow. Twice in a night. My favorite child.
Good job with that scholarship there. Look, this is just running down so much clock here. They're going to try and do a bit of a pet diva here onto Yoshiharu, who is desperately trying to find someone to dive off the edge. Oh, catching Anakin as well. This could end the final push before it has even begun.
I've got to be a little bit careful because respawners do come back, so I like that Elab respected that, didn't try and dive onto Anakin. Also, risk of getting hooked, but the time is the biggest factor. 20 seconds left. This is where Sunsister got it across the line. Even without ults, can DeToNator do the same?
I would certainly hope so. And then they do have a mammoth defense ahead of them, but look, you've at least got to get it over the line first. Here they go. Sayhadi looking to get around the side.
This 1v1 win would be huge.
This could change everything. And he needs to actually be getting on the back line, and he has no recall. Delay was already out of the picture as the Nano Blade gets committed. Great hook. Anakin looking to go aggressive now, and Sayhadi did survive the 1v1. Still needs to find something with the pulse bomb, doesn't find it. Self-destruct is there, doesn't catch anything. DeToNator still trying to keep this one alive, even as they lose Anakin. They are hurting for DPS now as EduUp is looking to open up. Sayhadi very low. Shul stalling massively. He still has the ultimate. The ultimate has already been committed by Samurai D. DeToNator trickling on to this point. Defender's advantage, overwhelming them out of blank here. Sayhadi is being punished for tunnel visioning on the 1v1. Instead of committing to the back line, and Blank do hold down the fort. That was actually very unfortunate right at the end there. Some things could have been done differently for DeToNator, but ultimately, good defense by Blank.
It was like the opposite of what Sunsister went through, which was they had a very poor start on Assault kind of in general, but especially on the second cap, and then right at the end they got it through. DeToNator had a fantastic start, the best start you could actually really hope for, and then just couldn't get it right at the end. Now this should be that triple kill onto the pulse bomb. How did he get it done? It's not even Trill stealing to play the game.
Here we go, here we go, here we go. Right past the defense matrix.
Yeah, that's the best part about that.
Can't stop the tracer itself, it can only stop the bombs. If you go past it, you're clear. Yeah, I was a little frustrated, if you will, at Sayhadi getting a little bit kind of wrapped up in that 1v1 with EduUp. He was happy to take that because no matter what happens at the point, well,
he was stuck. To be honest, he was stuck.
He was, but he didn't have to take that path in the first place. And what he was wanting to do, really, he had that pulse bomb. He wanted to get onto the back line. And when you have to go, when you're in overtime, don't do any setup play. Like, don't do anything else like that. Don't do anything odd. Don't go into a position where you could get caught out like that. Just go for it. You actually just have to go for it. And the thing is, EduUp is happy to take that because it doesn't matter what happens on the point. The respawn advantage is there for them. If things do start going sour, he can retreat much quicker than Sayhadi can join the fight for his team. frankly, look, it's not what cost them, don't get me wrong, and this is a little bit nitpicky, but
yeah,
it was a bit of an awkward time and place for that to happen, and that was a little unfortunate because that pulse bomb was under their few resources.
It wasn't, honestly, I don't think it was his fault at all. It was the simple fact of he was looking for a flank, which is normal for Tracer. That's exactly how you want to play, specifically when you have a pulse bomb anyway, because it's the only one of the few ways you get a very successful pulse bomb is you don't get seen and you get to place it quite sneakily. The problem is EDUP caught him and EDUP forced him into a 1v1.
Yes.
It wasn't like, I'm going to play.
Of course.
It's not like I will choose to 1v1. It's like I have no choice
No,
now.
exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's unfortunate that he got caught up in it. It wasn't that he went looking for it and something went wrong. And that's what I said, you know, EUP was willing to commit to it. He knew that he could and did. And that was actually very well played.
Actually, the silver lining aside, I think got out alive somehow.
Yeah.
I expected him to have just died
I totally did. He was down to like 12 health at one point.
No health
but
pack,
again,
no recall, nothing. I thought
and that's
he was
what
gone.
I say when I say actually good defense by Blank, because they did also read that situation well. They knew that that was one of the few tools DeToNator had, and they completely shut it out of the fight until it was too late.
I think Trill kind of, so that one primal rage at the start, that was the game winner right there, because that gave Blank enough time to respawn. He kept himself alive. Everyone came back and overpowered DeToNator eventually, and it's a bit unfortunate because in that same situation, look, Sun Sister were there and they just managed to kill everybody. They managed to sort of separate the respawns long enough to really force long respawns that eventually they just get the full cap out. And that was where I believe DeToNator could have gotten that full cap out. Every fight past that was always going to be hard. And Anakin changed heroes 3 times. He was never really getting his ults back up. He got the whole hog, which he blew into kind of nothing, I kind of guess. I don't believe the 1-for-1 ult trade was really necessarily good for him. So that's something that they could have had at the end that they didn't. So and that 5 ultimate fight, they got 2, they got a second, third out of that. But again, 5 ultimates, you kind of expect a little bit more. You want to get 2/3,
and
which
they
would give
close.
you a win. You don't want to get 1/3, you want to get 2/3.
And the truth is as well, actually, they got that third because someone had committed to the point while the fight was happening elsewhere. I won't say that I won't quite say that they snuck it out, because that was actually their plan. They committed to it and it went well. And the fight that was happening off to the side was actually favoring them anyway. But yeah, you would hope that you could get 2/3 of that. In a way, you'd hope that you could get 2/3 of that first push. And that is exactly what Blank did to them. They actually got the whole fight off that first
I want to bring attention to something else, because as unfortunate as that second cap was, that first cap was so well executed. Like, again, it was unintentional. It was unintentional in the sense that they run that maze strat anyway, where it helps them get behind the back, it helps them reposition quite well, but it just so happens, look, you played it directly into a Torbarissa setup. You couldn't have hoped for a better opening composition versus that, and you didn't even have to scout it, you just sort of got it.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. This, by the way, was Blank's push, and you can see a lot of that was actually the EUP was able to catch Samurai D on the retreat. And from there on, it was just like, oh, someone's retreating, I guess I'll kill them. But you're actually completely right about DeToNator's attack. I was very impressed to see that, because beyond just being a decent counter to the strategy in terms of your setup, it makes it very hard for them to do anything while you're setting up. Once they were on the point and fighting, they were executing it basically flawlessly. They'd wait for someone to commit, they'd cut them off, they'd kill them, and they did that 3 times in a row.
Lock out the turret every time.
And lock out the turret every time, lock out Gunba on that Ana every single time, and at the end, Gunba had to take a dive. He couldn't get back with his team. They didn't need to kill him. He had to take a dive because the point was gone.
And this is, I believe, the first attack from the first attack. That's the Blizzard committed as well. So, was this the first? It was the first fight, I believe, because they had a lot of time. And then the triple res came out. That actually bought. That was actually the other part. As much as I think Trill did a lot of work there, that res actually bringing 3 members back to life immediately really extended the fight a lot longer.
And you will notice as well, Yoshiharu committed the self-destruct. The Earthshatter being committed caught 3. The Blizzard being committed to kind of catch the rest. The self-destruct probably wasn't needed. And maybe if that had been held on for the res, because you can throw it out while the res is starting, you can actually catch people quite easily with that. It is a little unfortunate because they were actually just trying to press the go button, close out the fight convincingly, but a slight touch more discipline in their ult cycling could have gone a long way.
It is just a surprisingly good counter to Mercy ult if you for the res, if you can time it properly. If you time it poorly, it does nothing, but if you time it correctly, you get no time to defend yourself against self-destruct. You respawn, then bam, get flattened straight away. So,
and the reality is he may have actually been trying to throw it out to kill the Mercy before the res came through. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the decision making. But it's a little unfortunate the way it ended up falling, but a little bit of discipline in holding on to that for a different opportunity could have gone a long way. It didn't. There are reasons they did what they did.
I think the end result for DeToNator was because that first cap was so well executed, and not just because hey we got kind of fortunate or lucky the fact that they ran triple tank plus Torbjorn and we got a Mei, but also this is how we're going to adapt to playing now.
Yes.
We're going to counter. We know how to counter that. We're going to do that perfectly. So, play of the game did go to Eat Up, pretty well played. 2 triple kills on Pulse Bomb tonight, well deserved. But for DeToNator, if you're a parent and you just read the report card, you failed maths, you failed English as well. But hey, you got to be on gymnastics. You got to be on PE. Your physical education. Maybe you can be a basketball player. It's not all over for you. It's not all over.
Yeah, you could go into a trade.
Gym class B, not bad, not bad.
All right, sure.
All right, I'll take that. I mean, there it is. It was actually technically scoreline not as good as what Sunsister got on Assault, but actually better across the board on the other. Maybe not King's Road, but on Lijiang, it was definitely better than what Sunsister had on Ilios.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Moments of specifically that first cap on Hanamura was significantly better than anything Sunsister did.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. And that's exactly actually what DeToNator are looking to get out of these sorts of matchups. Look, it's all about improving. It is about having better performances than you've had yet, and this actually has been their best performance yet against Blank. That's all they really want to get here. Look, maybe they could pick up a win against Fireball here still. That is not out of the picture. They can hope to pick up another win against Sunsister here as well. Look, there is still a lot of space here for DeToNator to have even better performances than what they've had here, and everything between now and relegations is good for them if it is a good shot.
You know what? The other interesting note to take away tonight is Blank did not at one stage of the entire evening successfully execute whatever oddball strategy they had. Bastion failed. Orisa Torbjorn failed against both teams. So
unfortunately, yes.
Every single sort of out there strategy that Blank had, none of them successful against the Japanese teams. If you can't pull it off against them, I don't see them pulling it out against anybody else.
These are certainly not strategies they're holding for playoffs. Though we did expect that a little bit, that they may pull out strategies that we wouldn't see in playoffs anyway. But you're completely right. You know, you can imagine a world where they pull something like this out and they go, wow, that was actually phenomenal. Maybe we can pull this out against AHQ in one of our best of sevens, you know?
But it's like, you're not gonna pull it out, but also you can't.
Yeah, now you can't.
Whereas the difference is maybe Flash Wolves can, because they did do this kind of thing to Sunsister and DeToNator, and it does work. It worked extremely well. So the thing is for Blank, it's not even like, it's not their choice to not bring it out anymore. They just, as a matter of fact, cannot bring it out.
And maybe Flash Wolves bring it out and it fails, right? That is still a very real possibility. But you're right, they have the option. They have the option with a bit of confidence that they could give it a go and at least see what it does. Because again, the nature of those finals, best of 3 of best of 7s, that is a lot of games. It is not
21
at all,
maps, potentially.
Exactly. It is not at all out of the picture, out of the question, sorry, to say, hey, look, maybe let's pull out that Orisa Torbjorn defense on this one half of this one map. That would be completely within the realms of possibility. It would not be a silly call to make if you think it might be able to squeak out an extra map win. Heck, if it works, maybe keep doing it until it stops working if it's getting you wins. That is exactly what an extra pocket strategy is.
Even like, you know, it's going to be interesting for Blank now going up against AHQ because one of the things, like we've already mentioned, is the pocket strategies for Blank are starting to look a little bit slim. Even when we look at triple DPS, I don't think they're going to even go there.
They're all wearing women's pants that don't have pockets.
I just don't think they're going to even go for the triple DPS when the time really comes to it, but we're going to get into the post-match interview anyway. This time it's going to be with Kiki, translated from Serena.
大家好，我是教练。
好，我第一个问题哦，就是想让教练帮我翻译一下，因为刚刚在队上啊，你们说指定要他上来受访，我想问他是得罪了谁？
You were designated to be the man on stage. Did you piss someone off to get this assignment? You're designated to be on stage by certain someone. Did you piss someone off?
No. It was just I haven't done the on stage for a while, so people thought I should be on.
他也没有什么得罪什么人啊，但是他毕竟已经有大概6、7周也没上台了，所以今天就想让他上来一下。
那他有没有今天有什么话要想讲？因为准备要季后赛了嘛。
Excuse me. little bit of problems there with the
just,
interview, so maybe we can bring that back. Be interesting to see what he really says about that. But he's kind of. We actually haven't seen Kiki on for quite some time now, so that's always interesting.
It's like I don't know, they pulled him off interview duty. I don't know.
Interview duty is like. You're playing tank, you're playing DPS, and you're going to play.
And you're doing the post-match interview. That's like the highest prestige in the team. It's like, yes, Papa Serenity, pick me for the interview. My report card was good enough.
Yeah. I don't know. Tank B, DPS A, interview.
Yeah. Passing grade, yeah. Yeah, so with any luck, we may be able to grab that one back, and if not, we might be able to jump in and join these fellas on the couch later on. But yeah, so I suppose, actually, I think we might be able to just get back into it, so I'll hold my tongue with that question.
Yeah, you'll hold your tongue, and maybe we'll
get something to get off work early.
No, we just gave the decision up to Trill, and yeah, he did a very good job choosing that map.
他是说，是由 True 做的决定，因为他实际上就是说想要早点下工，
所以把责任丢给他。那他自己有想要选择哪？如果说像刚刚那一场的话，他想要选择哪一张地图
？If it was up to you, what would you have picked?
Probably Kings Row. Get a bit of variety.
还是选国王大道？
他也是要早点下班就是了。好，然后再次呢，恭喜 Blank 获得这次的胜利。那明天的比赛呢是2点开始，千万不要错过了。那稍后呢，采访区有 Blank 的队伍访问，马上回来。
Matter of fact. Also,
well, I really think we're going to Kings Row here. So, and apparently Kiki thinks that too.
He would agree with that.
Yeah, he would agree with that. Yeah, that was a great interview. Actually, I feel like I learned a lot.
Haven't seen you for a while, Kiki.
And we still barely got to see you.
Thanks for being here.
Good night, sweet prince.
You'll see a lot more of Kiki and the rest of Blank in that playoff start because not just across the whole 3 days. If we get to 3 days, it's going to be interesting. Do you think we'll get to 3 days there? You got 3 potential best of 7s. How many would it take for a team to win?
And that's the thing. I mean, the first team they're going to play is AHQ, a team they are 2 for 2 against the tournament as a whole. That would suggest we could very easily go to that 3rd day. I would be shocked to see a 2-0.
I would be shocked if I'll say it like this: if AHQ come out on day 1 and it's a very poor result from them, it's just going to be a 2-day victory for Blank because what AHQ need to, even if AHQ lose day 1, they need to lose in a fashion where they actually could have won. They actually threatened Blank to actually lose their match. And we're going to go now to the couch where Serenity will be met with IU up and Gamba.
Serenity 还有 AVRL 还有Gamba。
大家好。
Hi, I'm Gamba。对，那这边的话也恭喜你们，刚才是连续2连胜，对，是击败。那你们的这一季也是一个赛事打完了，那你们近期会在为季后赛做准备，努力练习，那还是会去让选手去稍微休息一下下。
我们每一周指定都是星期一休息。这个就算现在那个季后赛要开始了，我们还是星期一还是休息。但是选手说休息是休息，就是没有安排团练。但是其实上分析啊，或者是做什么训练都还是会做。
所以其实你们对于你们队伍的自我功课量是很多的。
就是选手的话，他们是专注于自己进步，然后团队上进步的话是由别人做。
那我其实我们会看到，是你们跟闪电两样，你们都有在刚才对上上世界的时候做一些尝试，做一些换阵哦。对，那我可以来问一下，就是因为刚把一直以来都是玩安娜的，而且是被许多队伍评为就是很难解决掉的安娜。那想问一下，刚把觉得 A 塔安娜玩的怎么样
？You have the hardest to kill Anna in all of APC. What do you think of Ata's Anna?
Ata's a very successful Anna player in ranked on his own right, so it's not surprised that it worked out well today. He plays a lot of Anna on his own.
他就是说那个 Ata 自己玩积分的时候，也是常常玩安娜，所以他也有做过安娜练习，所以今天表现这么好的话，也不是什么出乎意料的事情。
就别人们就安娜的角色是这样子。那我们来看一下，那我来问一下，想问一下 AVRL 对于今天大换阵的一些内容想法有什么？因为 AVRL 我看到是玩4-0-7-6嘛，对对对。
What do you think of everyone swapping the roles today? Like you on like Soldier and Tracer and things like that. What do you think about?
To be honest, it was pretty bad in the end because we actually lost the second point on Sky against Sun Sister, and then that was like, I don't know. But it was fine. Like I think having fun's great because just like let off the steam that's been building up through these weeks.
是说他是觉得还可以啦，但是一开始就是毕竟还是换了角色之后还是丢了点了。就是第一次对那个上司的丢那个莫斯卡丢进去， 然后接下来对于那个DeToNator第一点也失手，所以他是觉得说好玩是好玩呐，但是就是因为要发泄一下我们最近以来的这些压力，所以今天就是一个很好就是
否放日这样子。
对对。
结果我一开始想说，你们是不是想说在练正，就是多练一些角色词，原来只是在否放而已啊。OK， 没有问题哦。那这边也刚好问过许多选手，那这边还要再问一下两位，就是他们一直以来就是从业余战队那到了一路打到就是来台湾，然后参加职业锦标赛，那一路到了季后赛，想说这一路上的一些我觉得比较内心的一些想法，有什么感慨之类的？
We've been together as a team for a long time, from an amateur team in November all the way to a professional team over here at OPC, making it into the playoffs. Is there anything that you think that you want to say that you feel special about it?
I guess it's not a surprise that we're here. We kind of expected to get to this point before the tournament started. We honestly expected to do better, I guess. We're going to be working really hard to win the playoffs as well, spending about 10, 12 hours a day on Overwatch, so it's going to be tough, but we hope it works out for us.
他是说，自从起初组队以来到现在，能这么成功，他不太意外，因为我们毕竟也有那份努力在里面。然后就是说，现在季后赛要开始了，我们也不会松懈呢，也是继续做努力。
非常努力的一个队伍。那
I guess I can say the only difference, like we've always been trying to take this as serious as we can. I guess practice got better because we could play in lower ping with greens and making sure we get like proper practice as well against them. So yeah, that's it.
就我们从以前在澳洲开始练习的时候，就是跟韩国队伍练习的时候，也都是很高的ping在练习。然后自从来台湾之后，就有一个比较适合练习的环境，就是我们之间网络连接就也比较少了。然后我们也有机会就是做着一个比较专业的一个练习的一个态度。
所以对整体的一个训练上面都有明显的一个成长，就是在设备上面，还有环境上面嘛。没有错，没有错。那刚一样问过两位选手，那我们一样问这两位，就是在 OPC 里面哦，你觉得哪一位选手会让你最注意？就是不一定是最强，但是你最让你在你最在意或者是你最注意到的一位选手。
In the entire season up to now, which individual player would you like? Do you pay the most attention to? Do you think is the most impressive? Both of you.
For me, I guess obviously Bacon Jack. Like, for me, obviously, because we're tracers. Yeah, we're tracer players, and I guess he's my biggest rival here because yeah, we're both the best tracer players in this tournament. So yeah, I guess it's fair to say Bacon Jack here.
还是指定培根啊，毕竟他们两个都是这边最出色的两只闪光，所以都很明显，对方也有针对他，然后他们也有我们也有针对培根的一些行为，
就是萌生了一些感情，是吧？
是啊，就有点像是死对头的那种感觉，就是一直以来从一开始到现在，一直都是死对头在抢说谁是比较厉害的闪光，所以他还是觉得说还是有培根。
是，那干嘛？
I'd pick something a little different. I think that when we came into OPC, Realment from Flash Wolves was one of the worst players I've ever seen, and now he's probably the best Lucio in the tournament, so he's made the biggest improvement in my eyes, even though that role's not very impactful, but I think he's come the furthest out of everyone so far.
就是从我们一开始作为选手的时候，就连这个比赛之前，我们就有看过这些选手。
是。
在六股帮的时候也看过，然后是注意到说一开始的时候 ，Roman 的闪电狼的 Roman 的那个的路西欧。 很容易送头，然后觉得说他玩的最差劲，所以我们很容易就是看到他的话，就直接是一个头送过来。
对，
他是觉得那个进步程度最大的话，属于 Roman， 因为从原本到现在变成杀不死的路西欧，他觉得他进步幅度最大。
是 Roman 有听到吗？你看人家干嘛称赞你呢？对对对，那想问一下，就是也是一样问两位选手，就是刚选手都问到，就是那在途中，就是你们遇到了。 低潮期，你们聊一些很大，就你们连胜被中断的时候，那张很大的压力期间，你们是怎么度过
？We experienced our first loss just recently against HQ and Flash Wolves and other teams like that. We came from an undefeated winning streak. How did we, like, as a team, persevere through this low in our career? Both of you.
I guess it's just the realization that you can't always win every game and. Losses aren't as bad as you think they are because you can learn and improve from them. Like just watch over VODs and see your mistakes.
是说AVRL 是说，他就是开始就是尝了第一次败局的时候，才渐渐意识到说，也不可能永远都是完胜的，也有会输的机会。
是。
然后他也觉得说输其实是一个好事，因为会让我们真正的意识到说我们哪里弱，哪里需要检讨。
哇，好正向，是那刚吧。
I think winning a lot is really dangerous because you start to underestimate your opponents. You start to show up to matches expecting to win, and that happened against HK, a team that we've beaten previously every single time. And suddenly they prepare a lot more than you did, and you lose. I think that losing has shown us that you need to keep up the hard work even when you're winning, when you're first. It takes hard work to be first.
我手机没有转静音，不好意思。
OK， 没问题，没问题。
他是说一直赢的话也有一个风险的，就是你会开始低估对方，低估你的敌人。
小瞧敌人。
像比如说最近对于 HKA 的话，我们就大家都轻敌了，所以也没有真正的做什么研究，然后或是做什么针对的行为。
是。
所以毕竟我们还是这样子，就是输给了 HK。
对，那我们可以看到，就是其实 Blank 一直以来都是非常认真练习的队伍，自我练习，放假1个礼拜走1天，哇，好累哦！要是我去的话，我直接受不了。这个证明了职业选手不好当，真的。
其实一个礼拜只有1天休息，但是因为就是休息时间较少，就是团练之间跟队伍团练之间也还是有休息的时间的。
We do rest in between scrims, but
这个专业
do try our best to maintain a serious practice structure.
韩国的队伍也有知道这一点，所以大部分最后一场约战比赛的时候，也大家都会有一点好玩的成分在里面，没有那么认真。
是，
所以常常大家就在打的时候还是嘻嘻哈哈一起笑。
所以
we do find moments, even in serious practice games, where we can sort of be lighthearted and keep our composure and morale up as well.
非常恭喜 Blank 是2连胜，那也是恭喜挺进了季后赛。
So thank you very much to Blank and congratulations.
大家最想看到大概就是 iDrop 跟 Pagan 的对决
and making the playoffs, and everyone is really looking forward to seeing.
Looking forward to the duel between you and Bacon Jack.
The duel between you and Bacon Jack.
他也很期待。
是的，好，那我这边也谢谢邀请到3位，那这是我们的访问哦。那我们这边也差不多时间告一段落，那我们跟观众说一下拜拜，拜拜。
大家再见。
Well, bye Blank indeed. That's the last we see of them until we see them in playoffs next weekend. Semi-final against AHQ. It's going to be a bit of a stunner.
It's going to be really interesting. That's going to be an important match. Speaking of important matches, I kind of want to just highlight some of the ones we're going to see tomorrow. The big one, start things off with Machi versus AHQ now. Hong Kong Attitude have already been AHQ previously. Hong Kong Attitude also had infamously the closest Overwatch match against Machi in the last weekend.
Yes.
Full best of 5. 2 golden caps as well. Can Machi now pull it ahead and actually beat AHQ as well? That would be a huge victory for them and actually for AHQ.
Yeah.
Even if they lost, they wouldn't be dropping out of the playoffs. So what's going to happen there should be huge.
And the truth is, Machi, A, want to follow them through the gate. Now on the other side of that, B, AHQ, they do not want to drop anything else before playoffs. It's scary enough to drop to AHQ. You can at least feel good knowing that so did Blank, but you don't want to lose to anyone else.
Then I'll talk about the match after that, which is AHQ versus Fireball. So Fireball, they've improved. How far have they improved? AHQ is going to be a good test. Fireball versus Flashballs. It's a back-to-back super hard night for Fireball, but then one match that I'm absolutely excited. If Machi versus AHQ is going to be good, HKA versus Flashballs is going to be intense because so far, Hong Kong Attitude, they got a hit list. They've taken down Machi, they've taken down Blank, they've taken down AHQ twice. There's one team in the tournament they have not beaten. That team is Flashballs, and I bet you Hong Kong Attitude, they got a big, it's like you're a detective and the ace is
it's like in the middle of like all the red
everything's
X's,
connected. You just want to cross
circled
the last
it
one
with
out.
red marker. And the funny thing about that is, look, if it does come to pass, if Hong Kong Attitude do win that series against Flashballs, they will actually be the team to have an undefeated round robin for this final round robin.
You're so right.
And they would break Flashwolves' win streak.
Oh, not only that, but it would be kind of heartbreaking because they don't make the playoffs. But in spirit, it would be like they made the playoffs, right? In spirit, they can feel absolutely amazing about that. It says so much about their progress in this tournament. I cannot wait to see that. So again, look forward to the matches tomorrow. They're going to be absolutely hyped. Machi versus AHQ to start things off. Then we can close out with Hong Kong Attitude versus Flashball. So you don't want to miss either of those. And now from the Full Circle team here, thank you for joining us tonight on the Friday evening, the first day of the final week of the regular season. I've been Kevin AVRL. Joined with me the whole night has been Matt, Pixie, Carol, and we will see you tomorrow evening.